Buongiorno. Good morning. How are you? Kalimera. I'm Gary Alex, GaryAlexAudio.com. And today we're going to do another 2-hour creative challenge where we will basically be writing, recording, and mixing a song in 2 hours from scratch. Today's going to be a little bit different than the last one because I'm bringing in an actual drummer. My brother Lee is coming over and he's going to sit at the drums and play some stuff. He's on his way over now. We'll probably have some coffee and talk about what we want to go for stylistically, what kind of vibe we're going to try to go for. Because like I said, it's from scratch. We don't really know what we're going to play today. So the only thing I have in mind is I want to try something with some distant room mics. I'm thinking it would be cool to have like a breakdown section at some point in the song where we kind of like go to the distant room mics on the drums and then come back with the rest of the mics. We'll do some automation to kind of make that transition happen. Other than that, I don't really have anything planned. Hopefully Lee's got some good ideas and we can make something happen today. It's going to be a lot of fun either way. So music to my ears. We've got some coffee brewing. I got the drum mics set up. And we're using the same setup as we did on the last video, so you can check that out. We did add a couple of additional things, so I'm going to run through that real quick. So we decided to go with an SM7 on the side snare. I didn't use a bottom snare mic the last time, and a lot of times I don't use the bottom snare mic, but this time I'm going to just try to get a different color. And we're going to throw that SM7 on the side. That's going into the Blackline Audio B12A API clone. And then over here we've got the distant room mics. We've got the AKG 414s set up right here and right here in cardioid. I would say we're about 10 feet away from the kit. We don't have a huge room, so that's what we're going to work with. And those are going into the Focusrite ISA preamps. I moved the hi-hat over to the Warm Audio preamp and rolled off the low end just like I did the last time. So that's the setup. Basically the same as the last video, and Lee should be here any second. We're going to get started. Somebody here? You beast. Yes, thank you for letting me know. Looks like Limos is here. Yes! We are wired up and ready to go. Pro Tools session is good to go. My brother Lee's here. He's going to warm up a little bit. I'm going to get some levels, and we're going to see what happens. Just tuning them up a little bit.
A little bit. Some of them get a little loose.
This is an important step in recording that goes unnoticed a lot of the times. Having tune the drum. First takedown. Got some ideas of where the drums tracked, and we think that we have a little bit of a structure to it. We've got an intro, a verse, a chorus, a second verse, and then a breakdown section, and then the outro. We made a couple of edits. We cut out a small section and shortened it so that the second chorus would kick into the outro, and then we punched in a cymbal hit to end the song. And we're going to try to come up with something with that. And now I'm just listening to it, and I'm going to try to come up with something on the fly. I don't really know what I'm going to do because this is more complex than I usually write, but so here comes the chorus part. Nope, that's the breakdown. Here's the chorus. All right, so I played through it a couple of times. I came up with a couple of riffs that Lee likes, so we're going to go with those two, like a verse part and a chorus part. Trying to figure out the transitions because they're a little tricky. So I'm just going to give it a shot here and see what happens. That ending is going to be a little tricky, but
Yeah.
spent some time working on the bass, and it took a little bit longer than I expected because my brother kicked out some pretty syncopated parts. So I finally got the bass down, and now I got an idea for the guitar part. So I'm gonna plug this Jackson into the 5150 on the Crunch channel, just using a little bit of distortion, and we're miking it up with an SM57 going into our Focusrite preamp, and we're gonna give it a shot. So we got the rhythm guitars done, and I decided to throw on a lead part, and I broke out the Crybaby. Same settings, same guitar. It was really quick. I just banged it out in one take, kind of like a chicken picking, scratching type of thing with a little solo thrown in there. And unfortunately, I didn't record a video while I did it, but it came out pretty good. It's not perfect, but we're just going to roll with it and get going to the mix, because this is taking a little bit longer than 2 hours. So we'll move on. I like to, just on these 2-hour creative exercise projects, I like to just use broad strokes. One thing that I found is that a lot of times I like to just not be perfect, and sometimes the sounds that you get are unique and kind of add to the character of what you're doing. So I don't spend a ton of time tweaking prior to the recording on these types of projects, and I definitely don't spend a lot of time mixing. I use a lot of the same processing and plugins. I just find things that either jump out in a good way or jump out in a bad way, and I try to accent or fix those issues. So on the kick drum, we're just using a little bit of EQ. I'm boosting a little bit around 90 hertz, taking out a huge cut at 600, and adding a little bit of high end around 3K and 5K, and a little bit of compression with a 3-to-1 ratio, and slow attack, fast release. And then from there, I slapped on the lo-fi, adding a little bit of clipping, distortion. The snare drum and the overheads, I used auto align to make sure that they were in line with one another. And snare drum top, I used the SSL channel again, adding a little more high end and a little more bite at around 2.5K, taking out a little bit of honkiness at 750, and adding a little more body around 173 and touch of compression. I did end up throwing on another compressor, the CLA 76. I'm hitting that pretty good actually. And then the lo-fi with a little more clipping distortion. The side snare, I aligned that with the top snare and just tried to add a little more high end and some body and attack. And also compressed that a little bit with the CLA 76. I threw on another one of my go-tos. It's the Lexicon Large Wooden Room preset, and threw that on the snare and the toms. Just a little bit of EQ on the toms, as usual, taking out some low end and some of the muddiness that you get from toms. The Smash Mic, I love that thing. I just auto-aligned it and I didn't do anything else. Hi-hats, just took off more low end. And the overheads, auto-aligned them and just added a little bit of EQ. Just took out some low end and that was it. The room mics were kind of cool. I only used it in the very end of the song, like I talked about in the beginning of the video, where I wanted to just add sort of this cool little like breakdown section with the distant mics. So we did that with automation, and I threw on a compressor, the Vertigo. I slammed it pretty good, and threw on the radiator to give it some more grit, and a spring reverb just to try to make it sound distant and kind of cool. The drum bus, we used the SSL channel on the strip there. I used an SSL compressor. It's their G-Bus compressor with a 30 millisecond attack. So that's kind of a punchy type of sound I was going for. EQ, I took out a little bit of high end, and there was some weird stuff going on around 369 and I wanted a little more attack, so I added a touch of 1K. I did throw on a limiter just to touch it and keep it in check, and then threw the tape on to finish things off. On the bass guitar, we went direct, and I ended up throwing on this Brainworks Ampeg simulator, and I liked the way it sounded. Threw on the CLA 76 and hit it pretty hard to keep it in check, and then some EQ just to kind of shape the sound a little bit. The guitars, same thing, just kind of shaped them a little bit, took out the low end and the high end, and a little more aggressiveness in the mid-range. And I threw on the Renaissance compressor, and that's pretty much the same on both guitars on the rhythm. On the lead part, a little more upper mid-range and less low end, and also threw on the Renaissance compressor. I threw on a delay for the lead part and the doubler just to give it some width. And then on the mix bus, pretty much the same stuff that I usually do. I used the SSL channel on the virtual mix bus, and we used the SSL compressor with a 10 millisecond attack time, a touch of the Oxford inflator. I used the Brainworks EQ, boosted a little bit of a bass shift going on right there, and then on the side information, took out the low end. I didn't add any high end, but I did use the stereo width by 114% and mono maker at 71 Hertz. And the linear phase multiband shaped the sound a little bit, got a little bit of a tone that I was going for with that. Slate's virtual, whatever this thing is, I always forget the name of it, but it helps to get your mix loud. I like it. And then again, on the transient preset algorithm on the Ozone Maximizer, and that's basically the mix. So here's what the finished thing sounds like. Pretty happy with it.